Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 3rd of August 2023. In today's discussion we are going to cover some important topics from the editorial section of the newspaper, and also we are going to cover some short topics that will be important for the prelims exam. Along with this, we have also included many topics as questions for the prelims and mains exam. So let us start the discussion of the Hindu newspaper. Okay, so these are the list of articles that we are going to cover in today's discussion. So in this page we have listed around 8 articles along with their relevance and page number. Along with this, we have 2 more topics that we are going to cover. In all, we are going to cover 10 such topics in today's discussion. So let's start the discussion now. When we talk about the first topic, this topic is related to, it says, the trajectory of progress must change. Okay, the name of the topic is the trajectory of progress must change. So we are going to understand about this topic. Okay, so here we are going to understand what the author talks about. The author here discusses about that the kind of leadership that India is holding now in the global arena, right? In the when we compare with other countries. So this topic is related to GS paper 2 of the mains exam because it talks about some international organizations, for example like G20, G7, and it also discusses about sustainable development goals, etc. So this topic is important for GS paper 2, and also it is important for GS paper 3 because GS paper 3 is related to Indian economy, and here we are going to talk about how do we make progress, right, at different levels. So let us start the discussion. So name of the topic is, it says the trajectory of progress must change. The trajectory of progress must change. So let's discuss about this topic. So here the author has talked about one important thing. So the author has discussed about how India can grow, how India can make a progress. So in that regard, the author has first discussed about G20, right? So G20 is an international organization. It is an international grouping, and in this particular organization, India is currently, right? India is currently holding chairmanship. Okay, India is holding chairmanship of this particular organization, and this G20 has evolved, right, from G7, right? So initially, let's say G7 was a grouping of industrialized nation, grouping of developed countries, and this G7 grouping has been led by United States of America. And when the G7 countries were feeling that there is economic crisis going on worldwide, okay, world economic crisis was going on, at that point of time they have thought that we need to include more member countries, right? We need to create a new group, and so it has led to, let's say, increasing the membership, and India has joined, then Mexico has joined, then China has joined, like that. Okay, Russia has joined. So many such countries has joined the initiative that was, let's say, initially led by United States of America. So now G20 represents, let's say, greater than or equal to 85%, right, of world economy. 85% of world economy it represents. This is a very, very important figure, right? This is a very important figure because G20 represents a greater share of the world population and also world economy together. Now here the author says that since G20, since India is holding a chairmanship of G20, now India must take the leap, right? India must take the initiative of starting its, let's say, own venture into the world development. For example, the author has discussed presently the government of India is making progress related to advertisement of G20 by showcasing the Prime Minister alongside. But to the world at large, it does not matter, right, who is the Prime Minister. What matters to the world at large is which country is holding the chairmanship of G20. So in this article, the author has discussed about like what can India do, right, to enhance India's standing in the world economy. And also the author has talked about that governance, okay, he has talked about that governance is facing trouble, okay, governance is facing trouble across the world. Author discussed that governance is facing trouble. How the governance is facing trouble? So he has said that like the trajectory of progress is not going in the right direction, because across the world people are following top to down, okay, top to bottom or top down model, right? Across the world people are following a top down model where few people, right, few people who are, let's say, knowledgeable people, they are making rules for the grassroots level. And however this top down model fails to, what it does, it fails to include, right, it fails to include the local aspects, okay, it fails to include the local aspects of growth, right, local aspects of growth needs. So the top down model that the author has discussed says that like it faces a problem that only the topmost people are making rules for the people like who are at the grassroots level, and these grassroots level people, I mean like people at the local level, their issues are not taken up, right? And also the author has discussed about some other important points. What are the points that he has discussed? The author has discussed that like he has talked about one of the quotes of Einstein, okay, he has quoted Albert Einstein, and Albert Einstein has said that like if we need to solve systemic problems, okay, systemic problems, we do not need let's say like to solve systemic problems, we do not the solutions that led to those problems will not be let's say will not be suitable. For example, those solutions that were already in existence that led to these systemic problems will not be solvable. So the author has said to continue to solve systemic problems with the same approach that caused them is madness, and this is said by Albert Einstein, okay, this is said by Albert Einstein. So that's why the author suggests that there should be, let's say like bottom to top approach, bottom to top approach in a manner, bottom to top approach in a manner that like the grassroots level people should be given a say, they should have a say in in their governance, okay. So the author says like at grassroots level there are many countries, right, there are many countries who are, what they are doing, they are not doing enough, right? And even in India, right, there was, let's say like 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, if I'm right. So that said like we should be having Panchayati Raj institutions, although like we have enacted this particular thing constitutionally in India, but is it working, right, at per the desired standards, right? Initially we have thought that Panchayati Raj institutions, the grassroots level governance will be at the, let's say like at the core of the decision making model. However, are we following it? No, we are not following it in India, and across the world many other countries are also not following it. So that's why the author says that bottom to top approach for development, okay, bottom to top approach for development needs to be followed. Okay, this is what the author says. And also the author cites one important report, okay, I am going to write down the name of that report for you, okay, so that you remember. This report has been released by one organization which is known as the McKinsey Global Institute. It is released by the McKinsey Global Institute. So this particular organization has released a report, and I'm going to write the name of that report. Okay, name of the report is very, very important, because this report talks about, this report actually divides the entire world into 40 different small regions. Okay, it divides the entire world into 40 small regions, and it highlights about, let's say, the issues that these regions may be having, right? So name of the report is it is Pixels of Progress. Okay, name of the report is Pixels of Progress. Name of the report is Pixels of Progress, a granular look at human development around the world. A granular look at human development around the world. Okay, so name of this report is very important, and also you need to remember which organization has released this report, and also what is the significance of a report like this. So this report actually divides the entire world into 40 smaller regions, and from those 40 smaller regions it tries to identify the developmental needs of those regions. Okay, this report has been released by the McKinsey Global Institute. This is an important aspect. Apart from this, the author has talked about the Sustainable Development Goals, okay, SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. These Sustainable Development Goals have been adopted by all countries across the world, okay. It has been adopted by all countries across the world, and these Sustainable Development Goals were initiated by the United Nations, okay. It is also known as United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, okay. As part of these SDG goals, there are 17 goals in all. Okay, how many goals are there? 17 goals. And these SDG goals were adopted, right? Were adopted in the year of 2015. Okay, 2015. And they wanted to achieve these goals, right, by 2030. By the year of 2030. So these goals have to be let's say, like, achieved by the year of 2030, and many countries are making progress in achieving these sustainable development goals. However, if I talk about the countries across the world, let's say, like, there are 193 countries across the world. So all those countries do not have all the problems, right? Some of the countries, let's say, like if I talk about, most of the countries have 6 to 7 such problems that needs solution. And if we combine all these countries, let's say, like, out of 17 goals that we want to achieve, right, 6 to 7 goals, like, every country is, let's say, lagging behind. And if we combine them all together, let's say, considering 6 to 7 problems that every country needs to solve, so there will be 98 million of such combinations, and each country has a different developmental requirement, right? Every country has a different developmental requirement. So that's why the author says that, like, one solution or one size does not fit all. One solution will not be fitting to all the people, right, who are in need, right, of doing this. So the author says that's why we need to move, right, from the approach of top down. We need to move from the approach of top down model to, right, to down to top or bottom to top approach. Okay, bottom to top approach. So this is the thing. So as part of sustainable development goals, there are 17 goals that these countries have to achieve, and out of these 17 goals, like, they have categorized targets. So there are, I think, 163 such targets that these countries have to achieve as part of sustainable development goals. So this is all in this topic, right? So the crux of this particular message is that we should adopt, right? Crux of this message is that we should adopt a bottom to top approach. And also the author says that the government of India or the Indian Prime Minister has, talked about a mission which is known as Mission Life in its G20 summit. Okay, so we have discussed about mission life. So what do we mean by mission life? Life stands for lifestyle for environment, okay? Life stands for lifestyle for environment. So as part of the lifestyle for environment, the Prime Minister of India has suggested that every one of us can be a volunteer to support the environmental goals, can be a volunteer to reduce the energy consumption, can be a volunteer to, let's say, like, work towards a greener planet. So lifestyle for environment was a kind of slogan, right? It was a kind of slogan that was, let's say, proposed by the Prime Minister of India in G20 summit, in India, right? In G20 summit during its presidency. So this is all in this topic. Along with this, like, we are going to see if there is a question on this, okay? So we are going to solve this question quickly. So it says, what does lifestyle for environment initiative promote to encourage sustainable living? So lifestyle for environment wants to promote sustainable living, and for that, like, it encourages implementing energy saving practices, okay? So these options are wrong. Correct answer would be option C. Option C would be the right answer in our case. Lifestyle for environment. So with this, like, we will move to the next slide. Here, like, we have given explanation to this question. In your free time, you can, like, go through the explanation, right, to understand about it. Okay. So let's talk about this question or this topic. It says, from a state visit to a more robust trade relationship, okay? From a state visit to a more robust trade relationship. So this topic is related to international relations. It's a part of GS paper 2 that talks about international relations, and also we want to, let's say, promote more trade partnership with the United States of America. So this topic is important for GS paper 2 under IR section, and also GS paper 3 for Indian economy. So let's discuss about this topic. From state visit to a more robust trade relationship. So in this topic, the authors have discussed about India-USA, right? India-USA relationship, okay? India-USA relationship. So it's going to be important for GS paper 2 under IR section, international relations, like, so it is part of bilateral relations, okay? Bilateral relations. Bilateral means the kind of relationship that two countries share among themselves, right? So this is the thing. So let's discuss about India-USA relationship now, okay? So here the author has discussed about that Indian Prime Minister, okay? So the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, right, has done a state visit, okay? He has done a state visit to the United States of America, to the United States of America. And this state visit is a historic step because, like, it has happened for the first time after 14 years, that, like, in 14 years only three Indian states, three Indian prime ministers, right? In 14 years, only 3 Indian prime ministers have visited, Indian PMs have visited the United States of America. And also it talks about, let's say, like, that on, so in last 14 years, only 1 Indian prime minister, like, has visited there. And in last 75 years, right, in last 75 years, the author said only 3 Indian prime ministers have visited so far. So it's not only talking about the visit of the Prime Minister, but it also showcases the kind of relationship that these two countries share with one another. So do we have a free trade agreement with the United States of America, FTA? So no, like India and USA do not have, USA do not have a free trade agreement. Okay, we do not have free trade agreement. Now we need to understand what is the meaning of free trade agreement. Okay, what is the meaning of FTA? So when we talk about free trade agreement, so free trade agreement can happen, right, between nations, okay, between two or more nations. Okay, it can happen between two or more nations. Free trade agreement can be signed between two or more nations. For example, if I talk about India, USA, FTA, right, although it does not exist, so after a free trade agreement is signed, so what will happen? Both the countries will agree that it's going to treat the other country's goods, right, in a fairer manner in its market. So like, they will give market access, okay, they will give market access to other countries' goods. And also they will reduce, okay, they will reduce the trade barriers, okay, they will reduce the trade barriers. Then the third thing that they are going to do, they are going to reduce the tariffs, okay, they are going to reduce tariffs. Tariffs means, okay, tariffs means the kind of, let's say, import duty, cess, etc. that they apply. So they are going to reduce this thing. So when two countries sign free trade agreement, it allows both the countries to, let's say, do more trade among themselves. And in this way, these two countries become more, let's say, like, competitive in the world market, because like they have access to each other's goods and services at a reasonably lower cost and at a reasonably lower, with lower barrier to trade. Okay, so that's how it is going to work. However, the author says, like, although these two countries like India and USA do not have a free trade agreement, still its, let's say, leaders and its, let's say, business people, they know how to, let's say, start small and go big. So these two, let's say, like, countries, people or investors, right, the investors know how to start small, right, how to start small means, like, with a lesser kind of thing and do good in them. Okay, so that's why the author says, like, presently, okay, presently, if we talk about the volume of the trade that India does with the United States of America, okay, so this trade has around, let's say, $120 billion trade these two countries are doing. However, by 2030, this may surpass 500 to 600 billion dollars. Okay, $600 billion. So this is the thing. So this topic is very important. You need to understand this topic, learn this. It showcases about the kind of trade partnership that India and United States of America has. And also it says that for United States of America, they have a kind of signature free trade agreement between three countries, and name of that free trade agreement is known as US Mexico Canada agreement. Okay, it is US Mexico and Canada agreement. So they have this particular agreement where these three countries are doing extremely well. Okay, these two countries are doing extremely well. These countries, USA, Mexico and Canada, these three countries are doing extremely well in the free trade agreement. So these two leaders, the leaders of let's say India and United States of America, they did not talk about starting a free trade agreement. However, India has showcased its willingness that we are willing to open our market for agricultural goods and commodities also. We will allow our people to export our goods and services outside, and also outside people can let's say export their products to India. So we have shown more openness towards it. So with this, let us like move to this topic. So we have two questions. One question is for the mains exam, other is for the prelims exam. So let's discuss about this topic. It says, what is free trade agreement? Discuss bilateral trade relation between India and United States of America. So this question you need to write and share with us at evaluation@lukmaanias.com. Okay, you need to share it with us. After then we have another question. This is for the prelims exam. It says, with reference to free trade agreement, consider the following statements. Okay, consider the following statements. So we have three statements here. We are going to read all these statements and then we are going to solve this question. It says, it leads to increase in market access for goods and services. Definitely, when two countries have free trade agreement between them, they are going to treat the other country's goods and services fairly in their own market, and vice versa is being done by the other country also. So the first statement is right. Second statement, it says tariff reduction and elimination is FTA's potential benefit. Okay, so when we do free trade agreement, so we reduce the tariff, we reduce or we eliminate the tariff. Okay, so this is one of the potential benefit. Third, it says it restricts the access to foreign markets. This is wrong. It actually enables the access to foreign markets. Okay, so how many of the above statements are correct? Only two. So option would be B. Okay, B, option B will be the right answer. So with this, let us move to the next topic quickly. And also we have included solution here, solution of this question, prelims question. You can go through it in your free time. Now let us move to next topic. It says deep tech startups taking brave risk. Okay, deep tech startups taking brave risks. This topic is very, very important. Okay, it is important for GS paper 2. It is also important for GS paper 3 of the mains exam. So let's understand about this topic. Okay, name of the topic is deep tech startups taking brave risks. So here the author has talked about that great Indian startup boom of the last decade. Okay, so the author has discussed about great Indian startup boom. So what do we mean by great Indian startup boom? This was the time when the Prime Minister of India, was promoting with the vision of having startups in India. Okay, having startups in India. So for that, the government of India, right? The government of India has started some new initiative. Okay, so some new initiative in the nature of, let's say, giving loans, right? Giving loans, and in the nature of, let's say, reducing the difficulties in starting a business. Okay, reducing the difficulties in starting a business. So this is known as ease of doing business. Okay, so the government of India has focused on ease of doing business. How it focused on ease of doing business? By reducing the restrictions. Okay, reducing the restrictions and also enabling the business people to register their business, to start let's say new things, to start their business by taking they need to take many such, right? They need to take many such clearances. For example, environmental clearance. Sometimes they need some kind of certification to start their operations and all. So the great Indian startup boom happened a decade ago, and that has been functioning well. However, recently the Indian startup sector has showcased, right, its strength, right? It has showcased its strength for startup ecosystem, okay, that is known as Startup India 2.0. Startup India 2.0. So we are going to discuss what do we mean by Startup India 2.0, but meanwhile let us understand about what do we mean by deep tech, okay, what do we mean by deep tech startups, okay, deep tech startups. This is very important for us to understand what do we mean by deep tech startups. Deep tech startups are those businesses, right, those startups that are working in the field of artificial intelligence, right, artificial intelligence. That are working in the field of space sector, okay, space sector. That are working in the field of biotechnology. And that are working on remote sensing, robotics, okay, remote sensing. Robotics, etc. Okay, so those startups, those companies that are working in these emerging areas, emerging sectors that requires huge amount of research and development, right? So these are known as deep tech startups, right? So the author has talked that they are deep tech startups. So these startups are working beyond the, let's say, like, you know, digital platform thing. Let's say if we talk about companies like Amazon, companies like, let's say, Flipkart, etc. So they have started their business, they do have, let's say, a model, right? They have a website and like various consumers are listing their products and they are enabling that, like, you know, market mechanism. So that was part of, let's say, startup boom in India. However, now we have moved to the second phase of the startup where deep tech startups, like there are companies, startups that are working in the field of artificial intelligence, space sector, biotechnology, remote sensing, robotics, etc. So these startups need many things. They need cutting edge, okay, they need cutting edge research and development, right? This is one requirement. Second requirement is they need high amount of funding, right? Third, they need, let's say, like, you know, enabling policy measures by the government, okay, enabling policy measures by the government, So these are the requirements of deep tech startups. So that's why the author has talked about that government of India now should focus on Startup India 2.0, means the next level of Startup India, where the author says the government of India can do two things. First of all, it should, okay, so it can do two things. It should focus on availability of much larger risk capital for deep tech startups, okay. The government should focus on, right, availability of much larger fund, okay, much larger fund for startups. This is one thing that the government of India should focus on. And apart from this, the author has talked about the second, we need to enable mass procurement of indigenously developed technologies. And for the first part, the author has said that, like, you know, SIDBI fund of funds should be leveraged, okay, for meeting this particular thing. The SIDBI, Small Industries Development Bank of India, like that, okay, SIDBI fund of funds, okay, fund of funds must be leveraged, or, like, you know, it must be, let's say, given more emphasis, it must be given more emphasis. So this is what the author is saying, okay. Now, the second thing that the author says that we need to enable mass procurement of indigenously developed technologies, okay. There should be mass procurement of indigenously developed technologies. Although presently there are many government schemes that are in place that talks about that government should procure the things that are made indigenously. So for that we do have a portal which is known as Government E-Marketplace, GEM portal. And recently there was an article also related to Government E-Marketplace. So that this Government E-Marketplace is a kind of place from where the Government of India and its departments should procure the things for its requirements. Okay, so there are many Indian companies, right, Indian startups, Indian small and medium sized businesses that are listed as, let's say, product sellers. So Government of India and its department should purchase from here. So the author says, like, we need to focus on mass procurement of indigenously developed technologies. And second thing is, like, we need to make sure that we are making more funds available to the deep tech startups, and also we can leverage the Sebi fund of funds for this purpose. Okay, so this is what the author is saying. So this is a very good topic. So it says deep tech entrepreneurship is creating new avenues for science and technology discoveries in public sector labs. Okay, so with this we will move to the next topic. And also before that we have a question for you. Okay, this is a question that is there. It's related to the mains exam. You need to write this question, right answer to this question. It says deep, so this spelling is wrong. So this is deep tech. Okay, deep tech startups are the main route through which India is taking technology risks, a crucial element of a country's progress to build new capabilities. In this regard, highlight the current challenges of startups in India and steps taken by the government. Okay, you need to write this answer in about 150 words, right? You need to write this answer, and then you can share this answer with us on the same email address that I have shared right in the beginning of the lecture. Also, we do have another topic. We are going to discuss this topic. It says Center forms expert panel to revise anti-discrimination guidelines on campuses. Okay, this topic is also important. So I am not going to write the entire topic. So let's discuss about anti-discrimination guidelines. Okay, on campuses. So what the Government of India has recently done, we are going to discuss about this, but what led to this step, we are going to discuss about that also, what led to that step. So recently it has been noticed that in many higher educational institutes, okay, in short it is known as HEIs, higher educational institutes like IIT Madras, IIT Bombay, or IIT Delhi. So in these prominent institutions, in the last 6 months, right, more than six students, right, more than 6 students have committed suicide. Okay, have committed suicide in these higher educational institutions. So after then, the Supreme Court of India has asked the government, right, to show what steps the government has done, right, what steps the government has taken to stop discrimination in the campus, or the steps towards anti-discrimination in the campus, right, anti-discrimination of students in the campus. So in these higher educational institutions, as you know, there are people who are coming from different backgrounds of the society. So there are people who are coming from, let's say, through general category, or that is also known as open category. Then there are students from SC, ST, right, SC, ST, minorities, right, we have minorities, and also we have the differently abled people, right, differently abled students. So all of these kind of students study in these higher educational institutions, but it has been noticed that some students have spoken up against the discrimination that happens right, in these institutions, like against these SC, ST, minorities and differently abled candidates. So that's why recently the Supreme Court of India has asked the central government to notify the Supreme Court about what steps it has taken related to anti-discrimination. So in this regard, like in the Parliament of India, one minister, right, you know, Minister of Education, Minister for Education, okay, Minister of Education for states. So that minister has talked about that University Grants Commission, okay, University Grants Commission and Ministry of Education, they are revising the anti-discrimination, okay, anti-discrimination guidelines that are already in place. They are revising it, and also they are framing or drafting new guidelines, you know, for promoting anti-discrimination or non-discrimination in the campuses, so that, like, you know, these bright minds do not let's say, like, you know, do not commit suicide, right? They do not, let's say, like, you know, let their lives go because of discrimination, discriminatory practices that are being followed, right, in some of these institutions. So this is the thing. Now this is another topic. This topic is also very, very important. It says post 1957 President retains power to scrap Article 370. It was said by the Supreme Court of India. So we'll discuss about this topic quickly. So this topic revolves around Article 370 of the Constitution of India. So let's discuss about Article 370. So Article 370 of the Constitution of India gives a special status, okay, it gives a special status to Jammu and Kashmir, to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. It gives a special status. However, recently the central government, okay, the central government has scrapped, okay, it has scrapped Article 370, okay, and after scrapping the Article 370, the state of Jammu and Kashmir, right, the state of Jammu and Kashmir, J&K, has been divided into two union territories, okay. Earlier this was a state, and after then it was divided into the union territory of Jammu and Kashmir and union territory of Ladakh. So the government of India has done this in the year of 2019, okay. So it was scrapped or abrogated in 2019, and after then, like, you know, people have filed petition in the Supreme Court of India. They have filed petition against this particular step of the central government. So many political parties, many regional political parties who were from the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir, they have filed petition in the Supreme Court of India, and now the Supreme Court of India is hearing a matter related to it, okay. The Supreme Court of India is hearing a matter related to in the court. So the discussion was happening between Kapil Sibal, okay, between Kapil Sibal and the Chief Justice of India. So in that discussion, Mr. Kapil Sibal has argued that Jammu and Kashmir and India, right, Jammu and Kashmir and India are two sovereign entities, okay, were two sovereign entities, and the people of Jammu and Kashmir, like, you know, they have let's say so there was a discussion related to Article 370, okay, there was discussion related to Article 370. In the Article 370 there were many clauses. One of the clause of Article 370, which is clause 3, it says that a decision to, let's say, like this Article 370 is temporary, right, it said that it is a temporary measure, and also it said that, like, you know, to abrogate this article, the President of India or the Parliament of India can take a decision, and for taking that decision they need concurrence, okay, or they need recommendation, a prior recommendation they need a prior recommendation of the Constituent Assembly, okay, of the Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir. So now let us discuss what do we mean by Constituent Assembly. So Constituent Assembly is a body, right, is a body for framing the constitution, okay. Constituent Assembly is a body that is important for framing the constitution. So that Constituent Assembly was Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir. At that point of time, they were working towards framing a constitution for Jammu and Kashmir, and so that was a special relationship between India and Jammu and Kashmir, okay, at that point of time. So after then, like here they have said that the Parliament of India can abrogate Article 370 or nullify the provisions of Article 370, and for that they need concurrence or prior recommendation of the Constituent Assembly. However, the Constituent Assembly was there for framing the constitution of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and after that framing of the constitution of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, what has happened? The Constituent Assembly has ceased to exist, because the work of the Constituent Assembly was to frame the constitution of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. However, once the constitution of the state of Jammu and Kashmir has been framed, what happened? After it has been framed, then the Constituent Assembly ceased to exist, okay, it ceased to exist. Now the Chief Justice of India has said that, like, this Constituent Assembly was there, but it does not exist now. However, the Article 370 exists, and its substantive provision under clause 3 also exists. So the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of India has said about a doctrine which is known as functus officio, okay. So we are going to discuss about this doctrine also, which this is known as doctrine of functus, okay, officio. So let's discuss about what do we mean by doctrine of functus officio. So according to the doctrine of functus officio, let's say if there is a person, right, let's say if there is a person who is an arbitrator, okay, who is an arbitrator, and if he takes a decision, once he takes a decision, right, after taking a decision, right, once he has already taken a decision, at a later point of time he cannot, right, he cannot, let's say, he cannot revise his decision, okay, he cannot revise the decision. So that is known as functus officio. Functus officio means, let's say there is a body, right, of people. Let's discuss about the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So what they have done, they have agreed that, like, in the Constitution of India there will be a Article 370. In the Article 370 there will be a clause also. That clause will give the Parliament of India the authority to abrogate Article 370. However, they said, like, they should do it only after recommendation from the Constituent Assembly of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. However, what is the present scenario now? The Constituent Assembly of the Jammu and Kashmir is no longer existing. So the thing is, the Chief Justice of India has responded to Kapil Sibal that, like, we will apply doctrine of functus officio. According to this doctrine, once a decision has been taken by a body of people, let's say by the Constituent Assembly, so that decision cannot be, let's say, altered at a later point of time. It cannot be revised. It cannot be nullified by the Constituent Assembly at a later point of time. Okay, so this is what is said by the Chief Justice of India in that particular discussion. Okay, so still hearing is going on in the Supreme Court of India, and in today's newspaper also, 4th of August, right? So there was an article related to this. So when I take discussion on this, so I'm going to discuss about that also. So with this, we are going to discuss another topic. This topic is also very important, although it is a very short topic, right? However, this is one of the most important topic that we are going to discuss in today's discussion. So it says Rajya Sabha passes 3 bills. Okay, so I'm going to take discussion here itself. It says Rajya Sabha passes 3 bills in the absence of the opposition. So what are the 3 bills that it has passed? We are going to talk about these bills. Rajya Sabha passes 3 bills in the absence of opposition. This topic is very important. What are the 3 bills that have been passed? One of the bill is the mines and minerals. Okay, I am going to write these bills for you. The mines and minerals. Okay, the mines and minerals development and regulation amendment bill. Okay. Development and regulation amendment bill. So they have passed one of this as one of the bill, the mines and minerals development and regulation amendment bill. So this is one of the bill that the Rajya Sabha has passed. What this bill talks about? This bill actually, like, allows the private players to explore for atomic minerals. Okay, so what it does, it allows private players, private companies, right, private players to explore atomic minerals. This is one of the bill that has been passed in the Rajya Sabha, and they have passed, there were opposition member parties, but they have, let's say, staged a protest. So they have walked out of the parliament. Why they have protested? They have protested. They said that the present government should take a step to reduce, to curb the violence that is happening in the state of Manipur. Okay, so this was one of the thing. Second, second bill that has been passed is the Forest Conservation Amendment Bill. Okay, they have passed the Forest Conservation Amendment Bill. The third, what does this Forest Conservation Amendment Bill do? It does 2-3 things. It does many things. One of the thing is, it allows the central government to build some kind of structures for strategic purposes within 100 kilometers of bordering areas. Okay, 100 kilometers of bordering areas, and for that this bill will not be applicable over there. I mean, like, forest conservation regulations will not be applicable. Apart from this, they have also talked about another thing. Okay, the central government talked about another thing, is that they are going to change the name of the bill also, the Forest Conservation Act. They are going to change the name of Forest Conservation Act. The third thing that they want to do is that they are going to change the definition of forest. Okay, they are going to change the definition of forest. So earlier, the Supreme Court of India has given a judgment in 1996. Okay, Supreme Court of India has given a judgment in 1996 that is known as Thirumalpad Godavarman case. Okay, in the Thirumalpad Godavarman case, Godavarman, okay, I am writing completely. In the Thirumalpad Godavarman case, the Supreme Court of India has talked about that those areas will be considered as forest that meets the dictionary definition of forest. Okay, that meets the dictionary definition of forest. So this particular Forest Conservation Amendment Bill is going to do away with that. Okay, it is going to do away with that, and it notifies deemed forest as those forests that are already notified by government agencies or state governments or central governments. Okay, so this Forest Conservation Amendment Bill is going to bring changes in many areas in the Forest Conservation Act of 1980. Okay, the third bill that they have passed is known as Jan Vishwas Amendment of Provisions Bill. Okay, it is known as Jan Vishwas Amendment of Provisions Bill 2023. So what is Jan Vishwas Amendment of Provision Bill? So this bill actually decriminalizes, okay, it decriminalizes certain activities related to the corporate sector, okay, certain activity related to the corporate sector. And the Minister of Commerce and Industry has said that this is going to boost the corporate activities in India. It is going to, let's say, increase, right, let's say, participation of many people to take up businesses, okay. It is going to decriminalize a number of provisions in laws related to trade and commerce. So the Rajya Sabha has passed all these three bills. They are very important, okay. So that's why I have written, although very short topic, however, like, they have discussed about many things. So this is another topic. It says linear regression. So what is this topic all about? This topic says government's response to statistical findings reveal inability to accept truth, okay. So recently the government of India, what it has done, the union government has suggested, government suggests that there were prima facie reason for the suspension of the director of Indian Institute of Population Science. So one of the director of the Indian Institute of Population Science, he was suspended by the central government. And the author says there are reasons for it that the central government has done so. The author says that the central government is afraid of releasing the data to the public, okay, at large. Government is afraid of releasing the data because the government is unwilling or not willing to accept the truth, because data showcases the truth to the nation, okay. So this is what is said by the author, and he has talked about consumer expenditure survey also. So recently, I mean, like, many organizations were releasing the data. So some of the data have been scrapped by the government. They did not take into account, and this particular government is not letting the statistical data to go out, because the moment data goes out, the opposition member are going to grip the government, right? Bring that, make that government accountable for the actions that it has not taken, right? For the inaction of the government in let's say, like, in many important areas. So this topic is important. It's related to, let's say, some of the recent happenings, right, related to statistics. So here they have talked about, let's say, Economic Advisory Council also. So there are some members who have criticized, right, the National Statistical Office about the kind of data that it releases. It has showcased about, let's say, many incongruities with the data, okay. So with this, let us talk about another topic. It says coup in Niger, okay. Coup means coup. It is in English, like, P is silent. So we are going to discuss about it. It says coup in Niger or Niger. So what is coup? Coup is when an army establishment, okay, when army people overthrow the civilian government by detaining the civilian rulers, okay, that is known as coup. Recently that coup has happened in Myanmar also, okay. It has happened in Myanmar. So Myanmar's junta or military has taken over the authority of the civilian government. They have detained the civilian leaders. Similarly, it has happened in Niger also, okay. It has happened in Niger. So now the author says France and US must push for talks to restore democracy, okay. Since government has been toppled by military leaders, so many democratic countries across the world, they are raising their voice against the injustice that is being done by the army or military in Niger. So one of the former colonies, right, Niger was one of the former colonies of France. So France has ruled over Niger earlier, and the French president has recently said that whatever steps that the military has taken, these steps are unlawful in international relations. They are not sustainable, they are not tenable in international law. And at the same time, he has suggested that the military should, let's say, abstain from doing any wrong action. It should restore the democracy back in Niger, and at the same time, at the same time, they should bring back to the power the civilian president in Niger. Okay, so this article talks about that, like, the French government and the government of United States of America, they should take a step so that normalcy can be brought back in Niger, so that democracy can be restored in Niger by bringing back the civilian ruler in Niger. Okay, so this is the main point related to this topic, right? In your free time, you can read about it. Earlier also many such articles came related to Niger. So now in Niger, lot of turmoil is happening, right? And this is a map that talks about other countries also where where this military coup has happened. Like, it has happened in Guinea, it has happened in Mali, it has happened in Burkina Faso, it has happened in Chad, it has happened in Sudan, right? Now it has happened in Niger. Okay, so military takeover has happened in the northern Africa already in many countries. Now it was the time of Niger, and in Niger also it has now happened. Okay, so this map showcases about the history of such military actions in Niger. So with this, we have another topic. It says Jeddah hope for peace in Ukraine. Okay, so Jeddah, this is one of the country in Arabian Peninsula. Okay, one of the country in Arabian Peninsula. So Jeddah means I think it is the capital of Saudi Arabia. Okay, Saudi Arabia is let's say a country in Arabian Peninsula. So this Saudi Arabia, it is hoping for peace in Ukraine. So Ukraine-Russia war is happening, and the Saudi Arabia, they are, let's say, hoping for peace in Ukraine, and they are hoping that peace should be re-established between these two countries. And related to that, they have mentioned many such points. Okay, the discussion is not that important for us for UPSC Civil Services exam, because it does not directly impact interest of India. It does impact, but indirectly, right? So we are not going to go through the detail of this article. However, we do have a question on this, right? We have included a question on this for prelims exam. And to solve that question, you need to have an understanding, right? You need to have an understanding on the map of Black Sea. Okay, so you might have recently heard that there is a strait which is known as Kerch Strait, right? That connects Sea of Azov with Black Sea. So this is Black Sea, this is Sea of Azov. So on Kerch Strait, there was a Kerch bridge. On that Kerch bridge, there was an attack recently, right? Seaborne drone attack, and that attack has damaged the Kerch bridge. And soon after that, Russia has, let's say, come out of Black Sea Grain Initiative. So in that Black Sea Grain Initiative, Turkey was a member, Ukraine was a member, Russia was a member, and also United Nations was a member, right? So after Russia has pulled out of it, now other countries are member of it. Let's say Turkey, then Ukraine, and United Nations, they are member of it, right? So related to this, this region has been in news for many purposes. That's why we need to understand about the map, right? We need to understand about map of these countries. So which countries are surrounding Black Sea? They are Bulgaria, Romania, Ukraine, Russia, Georgia, and Turkey. Okay, so these are the countries that surround Black Sea. So you need to remember their name also. Bulgaria, Romania, Ukraine, Russia, Georgia, and Turkey. Okay, they are the members. So let's solve a question on this topic. So it says, which countries border Black Sea? First, Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria. Second, okay, Turkey, Greece, Albania. This is not there. Then C says Russia, Georgia, Armenia. Armenia is not there. Fourth says Egypt, Israel, Cyprus. Okay, Israel is not a member. So A is the answer. Ukraine is there, Romania is there, Bulgaria is there. Okay, we have seen Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria. So this is Ukraine, this is Romania, and this is Where is Bulgaria? This is Bulgaria, okay. So now Bulgaria, Romania, Ukraine, they are surrounding the Black Sea. So that's why option A is the right answer, okay. Option A is the right answer. So you can go through the explanation in your free time. With this, like, we came to another topic, okay. This topic is related to Indian economy and we are going to go through this topic very quickly. It says P note investment in India equity June end, Sebi data, okay. So what is P note? We will understand about it. But before this, let us understand, right. So it says 1.13 lakh crore investment in Indian capital market through participatory notes rose to the highest level in 5.5 years. This includes the participatory notes investment in Indian equity, debt and hybrid securities, okay. So let us understand about what do we mean by participatory notes. Okay. So name of the topic is P notes. P notes stands for participatory notes. It's a concept for economy. So participatory notes, P notes are those instruments, right? P notes are those instruments using which foreign investors, okay, using which foreign investors can invest in Indian market, okay, can invest in Indian capital market. So what they can do, they can invest in Indian market. And to invest in Indian market, they do not need any, let's say, registration with Securities and Exchange Board of India, which is in short known as Sebi. Generally, right, if they want to invest in India, they need to register themselves through Sebi to invest. However, this P note, okay, this participatory note allows the foreign investors to invest in India, right, in securities market in India, in securities market or capital market in India without having to register with the regulator, okay. So participatory note is that instrument, okay. So it allows these foreign investors to bypass. So recently there was a data that mentions that, like, you know, this P note investment in Indian market through P notes has gone, let's say, like, you know, 5.5 years higher, like it is at a very higher level as compared to many years back, okay. So that's why through participatory notes one can invest in equity, one can invest in debt, one can invest in hybrid securities. Hybrid means combination of equity and debt. So this is the thing. Many of you may be finding it difficult to understand. I do understand, but however, we cannot go into deeper discussion because, like, you know, that's going to take us to the economy section, right? So that's the thing. So we do have a question for you. This question is related to participatory note, and the discussion that we had will be sufficient for you to solve this question, okay. It says, what is a participatory note? It has given multiple options, okay. So it says a derivative instrument used by foreign investors to participate in Indian stock market without direct registration with the regulatory authorities. Option D is the right answer, okay, option D. Participatory note is a derivative instrument used by foreign investors to participate in the Indian stock market without direct registration with the regulatory authorities, okay. This is the right answer in this case, alright, participatory notes. So we have given explanation also related to participatory notes. You can understand this, right? You can simply download the PDF from the description of the YouTube video and then you can go through it. That will help you to understand these topics more and it will help you for a quick revision of the topic. So that's all from my side for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending today's session. I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.